And when the Lamb opened the seventh seal, silence covered the sky.
Salam Tanat, Aina Yustalin. I am Ras Yadinos Teferi, Wandam Yada, of the Lineage Society of His Imperial Majesty. What we would like to discuss right here, what we need to really discuss right here is spiritual Egypt. Subject matter of this is spiritual Egypt. What and where is spiritual Egypt? And consider the events that is happening in the mundane, the worldly, or the earthly Egypt. And this evil Pharaoh, this 30-year evil Pharaoh of the modern Egypt, known as Hosni Mubarak, and this backlash that has finally is finally escalating and seeming to escalate into a revolution. In fact, they tell us that it's the first revolution that Egypt has experienced in 7,000 years, which is very interesting statement in and of itself. The first revolution in Egypt in 7,000 years. Against who? Against a modern Pharaoh. Now, the fact that the news mentioned this 7,000 year first revolution is a point that requires further examination. But just suffice it, just put this in your notes. For question mark, of course, first revolution, 7,000 years, Mubarak, evil Pharaoh. Could this really be a manifestation of the prophetic signs and the signs of the time, when we put it in context with the fact that there's Egypt and there's a spiritual Egypt? And what is the conjunction? There's a conjunction that's happening, a very mystical and amazing conjunction. Could this also be part of the ripple effect of some of the events, the heavenly and celestial signs and events? And also there's other portents happening on earth as well that actually equals the 10 plagues. There were 10 plagues against Egypt of the book of Exodus, the Exodus Egypt. Now, some may say these plagues were according to the mythos or mythological types, but we have to understand what is the proper and what was the proper gnosis or gnosis, knowledge of that according to Moses, since Moses was learned in all the wisdom or the mystery of Egypt. So there are signs, there are allegories. Some things are allegorical, some things are like a parable, parabolic, or it's like a proverb, it's like a simile, and some things are literally. This is why we have to understand first and foremost what the point of prophecy is. That the main point of prophecy is not to so-called interpret history as the Bibleators and the Satanists and the religionists have done, you understand, in their counterfeit forms of so-called religion or spiritualities, which is all part of the spiritual Egypt. But the real point of prophecy is not to interpret history, but to change history. See, prophecy becomes personified, and it must be invoked, it must be personified, it must be evoked, and none can excuse themselves from the signs of the time. You understand? None can excuse themselves from the call to arms in this spiritual warfare, and none can claim a sort of neutrality in this spiritual warfare of good over evil. So that is a main point that needs to be meditated, needs to be understood. Because if that's not overstood, then everything else will be misunderstood. You understand? And ones would remain in a frozen psychological state, or ones would remain in spiritual Egypt. When the Bible speaks about our Lord who was crucified in spiritual Egypt, there's a certain alignment between the spiritual Egypt, the mundane Egypt, or the earthly modern Egypt, and the ancient type, or the so-called mythological type, the Egypt of the mythos, and all of these are aligning. What we're witnessing now on the world stage is an alignment, or as ones would say, a trifecta. You understand? A trifecta. These three realities are aligning and overlapping, and they in themselves generate certain energies. You understand? Certain energies. It's like if you have magnets. You understand? Magnets have a pull. You understand? And there are other forces that are resisting the pull. It's almost like how the evil Pharaoh of the Exodus, how he resisted. You understand? Seeing the signs, he resisted the word of the deliverer, the Moses, Musa, and Harun. You understand? He resisted that. You understand? And then he played a lot of games too. You understand? If we really would go through the story in the Bible and then look at the modern manifestation in the spiritual Egypt and see now this present Pharaoh or Mubarak, you understand, being a type and an exemplar of it, You understand? This being a microcosm, like microscopic of the macro. You understand? Being a small view of something that exponentially, you understand, is going to have ripples. You understand? It's just like when a little pebble drops in the water and then it sends ripples. Sometimes you see those waves get bigger. You understand? They start out seem very small, but they get wider. You understand? They have greater and greater ramifications. And this is what we're witnessing on the world stage with this present Pharaoh. In fact, and this is also another matter that we need to meditate on, but we'll share some of the summary ideas, is that ones look at President Obama, some may see him as a type, even in and of himself, as a type of a Pharaoh too. So in another level of the interpretation, the metargon, you understand, of the metargon, we have Pharaoh of one horizon versus Pharaoh of another horizon. You understand? But this is one of the reasons why even Obama and his administration has been very cautious. You understand? Very cautious, because there's no easy road. You understand? Seeing that we have come this far, you understand, to this present time, there's no easy road, and there's no easy out of what they have gotten themselves into. But there is a straight way. There is a way out for us. You understand? In the way of Yahweh, in the way of the King of Kings and his Christ. There is the true way of faith. You understand? Faith along with work. You understand? Because faith without work is dead. And when we say what work, we're saying the work of the faith. You understand? The work of the faith. If one say that they have faith, then they should work and act according to that faith that they claim. Therefore, that is true faith. You understand? That is true faith. It's like if one says, I'm a farmer, they have a piece of land, they got seeds, they need to work the land. If they don't work the land, well, they basically probably are not a farmer. You understand?
Yeah.